up, guys? So, today, I'm bringing you a shield bashing bulwark. I basically invest into all of the shield bashing perks for bulwark in an attempt to actually get some damage out of the shield bash. Of course, we have advanced conditioning to make sure our contested health is supported, and I'm not too sure if you've noticed this, but I do not have invigorating icon, because apparently the shield bash damage perk and icon are on the same row of perks. So unfortunately, I do have to leave icon basically on the side here. Yeah, I do not have invigorating icon for this operation, but it's okay because I do match up with the heavy here. Heavy and bulwark goes really well together. And initially with shield bashing, I've always done it in a way to increase my melee damage. I've never really done it in a way to actually deal damage. But as you can see here, it actually does a nice little bump of damage, I will call it, because I think obviously having 200% extra shield bash damage, it's pretty good, but it's not the best. I would consider it, basically stomp levels of melee damage, and by stomp levels I mean like a melee stomp. Basically, effectively something like that. It may be a little bit less damage, but you still get the stun potential, and it's a little bit faster. So I think that makes sense, how it would be a little bit less damage than a stomp. But it was actually really enjoyable to kind of bring out a couple of shield bash here and there. Now, it is interesting because when you shield bash, you can increase your melee damage, which is nice, and I am using the power sword here. The power sword was recently buffed, and I think the power sword is pretty good. I still think it's potentially the worst melee weapon at the moment, but still I think melee is in a better spot than where we were at during launch. And that really puts melee in a much better spot to just enjoy it and just get into some battles. All I really wanted to do was some shield bashing, some power swording. Power whirl is definitely very fun and very enjoyable to use and very powerful as well. But yes, the plasma pistol I figured is a great weapon to kind of pair with the power sword. Those were two good parries right there. I'm trying to do my best to get a shield bash onto the Lictor. These extremists definitely caught us off guard a little bit, and I gotta say, going through this operation without icon, it's definitely a tad bit stressful, but luckily, luckily in a sense, I guess, we did not have somebody fill this sniper spot, and which is interesting because normally on console, everything's very automatic. Like, I was even just playing a little bit of console just a little bit ago, and it was basically like instant speed queues, which is interesting. So when you can go through an operation, especially an absolute with a bot, you actually get a fair amount of extra healing for your team, which is nice. Also, yep, that was a spore mine. That was a spore mine, basically a spore mine group that just exploded and absolutely eviscerated my health pool. But luckily, luckily I do get picked up here. And yes, that's what we call a mistake. A very, very punishing mistake. I think there was one little bit of spore mine being peeked out on the corner of my screen there. If I was paying attention, I probably could have figured out that if I walked over there, I was going to die. But it's okay because, like I said, I didn't know it at the time, but since we have this sniper bot here, it's actually going to be a little bit easier for us to, get some healing because we're only getting healing for 2 players instead of 3. Now, this banner, like I said, it does not have icon, so it is definitely a little bit weird that I am basically substituting icon for just a little bit of extra shield bash damage. And I gotta say though, overall, I think shield bashing is definitely in a better spot because it was recently buffed, like in a couple patches ago, something like that, to just make the shield bashes just feel a little bit better. I think a lot of the shield bash perks were changed, especially during the perk rework patch. Now, Biovores weren't that big of a deal for this build to deal with. As long as you can get a parry on a Biovore, you should be in a good spot to get a gun strike. I'm actually convinced that the best way to deal with Biovores is to basically rush them down and try to get them in a position where they are either cornered or they are forced to melee you. And yeah, that's definitely a good way to pressure the Biobores. Just try to put yourself in a position to get a parry or a block or something. Get some sort of gun strike going. Oh, but yeah, the mobs. See, that's the coolest thing about the shield bashing is you get a little bit of poise and you're able to just shield bash through gaunts. Yeah, I gotta say, the shield bash gameplay is very, very fun. If you haven't tried shield bashing out on Bulwark, I definitely recommend it. I definitely recommend using it with a melee weapon you want to use as well. Definitely try to mix up the melee attacks with the shield bashes. It just feels very, very enjoyable. Now, see, this is so funny when I drop the banner and I get like contested health because chip damage, and it looks like Invigorating Icon is just really bad, but I actually just don't have healing for this operation. And in this situation, I was definitely feeling it a little bit. However, I still have 2 grenades, I still have some healing, and I still have the power sword. So I was trying to get a power world there, but unfortunately I got interrupted. But luckily I can still hit these parries and get some really good gun strikes. The shield bash is definitely going to be good when you see multiple majors kind of just in a row, because you can potentially stun both of them and then set up some nice parries or some nice swings. I just think shield bash is very good to connect combos. Basically, if you don't know what to do, just throw in a shield bash and then you will be in a position to get some damage in one way or the other. And obviously, substituting Icon with extra shield bash damage is a little bit risky. It's definitely not something I would recommend in higher difficulties, especially if you play with randoms. It is kind of nice to drop your banner and to make sure you can heal your team. It goes a far way. Extra shield bash damage is nice and it's fun, but luckily, I did have a team here that knew what they were doing. At the end of this operation, the heavy leaves a little bit too fast, and I don't get a good picture of the stats. But the heavy had like over 25,000 damage or something. So basically, my job was to stun the enemies, and his job was to get the damage. As you can see here, going through this wave just with shield bash is kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, you can just parry to get your armor back whenever you need to. But yeah, me and this heavy were actually working pretty well together. Unfortunately, we do both have mortal wounds. Mine was rather tragic with that Spore Mine clip. I haven't had a Spore Mine death like that in a very, very long time, and I hope I don't have a Spore Mine death like that ever again. That was definitely pretty tragic. Oh, but there I get punished for going for a shield bash because I'm on a ramp. I believe they can just like hit right through me. I'm pretty sure shield bash they can just hit right through shield bash regardless. I think it really depends on what attack they run. But still, drop the banner, make sure I protect myself, get a nice parry in there, get a gun strike going, get a shield bash, and they are executionable. But yeah, obviously, I don't think you should substitute Icon with 200% extra shield bash damage. But if you do have a team that is comfortable with doing that, I do recommend bringing out shield bash in lethal, in absolute, one of those. Playing without Icon as a bulwark is definitely an experience at the moment. I do think it's rather interesting that the banner is actually faster, obviously, than the banner that you get with Icon. Because they nerfed Icon, you have a 3-minute cooldown on banner, and without Invigorating Icon, your banner is, 2 minutes? Something like that. And we do manage to take out the Zoanthrope without much issue. The Plasma Pistol is a very good anti-Zoanthrope weapon. I just think it has the right amount of impact. But yeah, as I said a little bit ago, I don't really get a good clip of the stats at the end here, but the heavy does a lot of damage. I go down once because of Spore Mines. Shield Bash is very interesting. It's definitely something that is fun to use. It's not meta, but it does stun, so that's always helpful. And yeah, Plasma Pistol is a great gun strike weapon. Yeah, there's a small clip